Cellar Door Games is out with a new, action-packed co-op beat-em-up, Full Metal Furies. Rogue Legacy is one of my favorite games of all time, so I was excited to get my hands on Cellar Doors' new title, even if it is a complete departure from their earlier game. The thing is, I'm having trouble finding the fun in this game. Well, let me explain the game first before diving into the issues I'm having. The Full Metal Furies is a group of 4 women that each have different skills. The game follows them as they try and take down several bosses that are creating war. Each of the women in the group have their own playstyle. The fighter and tank are both melee, and the engineer and sniper are ranged. My favorite team is the fighter and engineer. It's a great combination of quick melee with good stuns. When choosing, you'll definitely want to have a balanced team. There are a lot of systems in place related to gear and stats. First, there is a store which contains a point tree where you can buy improvements to your character. This includes damage and HP improvements, but there are more interesting ones too. For example, the engineer can have an upgrade to the amount of bullets in her gun. This is considered your level for each improvement you buy. Of course, the prices go up the more you purchase. The level is important because it's a tree with certain level requirements before you can buy the better skills. There is also alternative gear for each character as well. It performs the same function but does it a little differently. They seem to always be a side grade, and you should pick what is best for your style of play. For example, the tank's shield can be switched out for an ice barrier that has a huge hit pool but will not regenerate. You will want to switch gear around because the gear can be leveled up, but that applies globally to your profile. This is by far the most important part of the game, and I didn't realize it until 5 hours in. The game really wants you to play all the characters and try all the gear to get profile buffs. Having a tough time beating a level? Go back, play old levels with other characters. I cannot stress how important this is. You will have a much less frustrating time if you level up gear between each of the Furies. The game tries to offset some of the grinding by giving you a store discount. Each upgrade you purchase adds to your VIP discount. This way, if you need to catch up some of the other Furies, the upgrades will be cheaper and you can level much faster. I'm glad it's in the game, otherwise you would need to replay every level to keep each character leveled up. I wish more that the system just wasn't in there at all, but if you have multiple groups of friends that will play this game, I can see it as a good way to try other characters. The thing is, with the profile boost, you could be overpowered with the friends you're playing with. I like the gear, and having the options to alter how the skills work is great. Find the right gear for your playstyle. Forcing me to replay older content to level the gear of the other characters isn't fun and makes it seem like it was added to pad the time required to beat the game. Replaying levels with a friend could be fun as you introduce them to the game. In single player, there are so many cutscenes and dead screens to walk through, it feels like it takes forever. You can't jump straight into a fight. Also, if you've completed the game, you'll probably want to start another profile to play with your friends that are new to the game. So if the game is going to let you be more powerful than your friends, it needs some way to keep the other players relevant. Here the game uses colored shields that only a Fury of the same color can break. While this does have the intended effect, it can make you almost useless in battle if you're not the correct color. You can still interact with the enemies and knock them back, but the other player needs to break the shield. This is a serious pain in the ass if you're playing alone and your one character is knocked down. You can only dodge everything and eventually get them back up to continue. I don't like the shield mechanic because it clutters up the screen with the same color as the character. It makes it much easier to lose yourself on the screen. You have so much to dodge at once, this is just more clutter. It could potentially leave one person with nothing to do. It happens a lot more than you think too. Keeping all characters relevant in the fight and forcing each player to engage is a good idea, but really, everyone can act alone as long as they go for the enemies they can hit. There isn't a real sense of fighting together. You cannot interact with each other at all. If both players are good enough, you can probably just ignore each other just fine. There are no combos, and while you can chain a few skills together, it doesn't really do any more damage. Can't really stun lock enemies either, since most of the skills push them away from you and allow them a chance to retaliate. The combat isn't your typical brawler style either. It's much more about dodging the ground targets and enemies than killing them. You need to be very careful about finding an opening, since attacking leaves you vulnerable. There's a split second after you attack that doesn't allow you to move. It gets me every time, because everything seems fast about the game and then I foolishly assume I'm going to have enough time to get out of the way. It's something that with practice you'll get better at. Perhaps I'm a little greedy when trying to attack and get as many hits in as possible. I also have a problem tracking all the enemies, and while they all telegraph, it's not super obvious. Oh yeah, I can see the red target on the ground filling up, and I know there's going to be a bomb to land there, but the guy charging up his dash right behind me? Nope. I am having trouble focusing on both at the same time. This might be more of a problem playing in single player, since all of the enemies are focused on me. I assume in multiplayer it would be a little easier with only half of the enemies trying to kill you. On a related note, I would say the game is much easier to play in co-op, and that's the way I would suggest playing. It's not impossible on single player, but it's so much more difficult. In order to keep the shield mechanic, you can pick two characters and you switch between them at will. Much like the attacking animation, the switching mechanic has a deceptively long lag time after use. Also, as I said, the color shields make it a real nightmare if you lose the character required to break the shield. I consider this a game where you must play in co-op. You'll have a much better time. It's possible to complete in single player, but with some grinding and some luck. If you are going to play alone, make sure you turn on story mode unless you like punishing yourself by playing the same sections over and over. I have to mention that on my monitor, some of the artwork is a little blurry. I'm not sure how this is going to come across on YouTube, but as you can see, the art style is a mix between pixel art and a hand-drawn style. The pixel art is great, and the Furies each have their own very cute idle animations. The rest of the art, though, doesn't seem like it was drawn to scale to this size. It's a little blurry and is kind of distracting. And I'm not talking about how the game is creating depth by blurring the trees that are close to the camera. The wooden crates are the most obvious example. They just don't look right. It's something that bothers me, and I'm surprised considering the experience level of this developer. Also, don't expect to get this game and play with randoms online. While the game does have online co-op, the only way is to invite your friends through Steam. Overall, if you can get a co-op team together, then yeah, this is pretty good. I know I was really hard on Full Metal Furies, but it is fun and well made. It has a wide range of characters and gear, which is fantastic. There are some good moments with the comedy, but many others fall flat. The mechanics are solid, so grab a friend or two and pick this up. If you want to collect everything, then there is a ton of content. All my problems are mitigated by playing with friends, and that's the point of the game, I guess. It is stated that playing alone is viable, but I don't see it unless you turn on the story mode. For me, I'm happy with defeating the main boss, even if the game says I'm only 50% complete the story. Thanks for watching.